Welcome back to the Quiet Millionaire, where we don't chase wealth, we regulate into it. Ever notice how even rest feels like failure? Like no matter what you achieve this year, the idea of slowing down stings more than any missed target. Rest isn't sweet. Rest feels risky. Ever feel like slowing down is more terrifying than burning out? That being still, even for an afternoon, gnaws at you in a way no rejection email could. Ask yourself, ever wonder why urgency still runs your mornings, even when you know better? You buy courses about balance. You read about systems. You promise not to check email before breakfast. Yet before you know it, your jaw is tight. Your mind is racing. And you're already planning to recover from today's productivity before noon even hits. Ever notice how rest always gets squeezed in, never built in? If you stop working early, you notice the guilt before the relief. If you take an unplanned walk, your mind immediately defaults to, I could be fixing that one deal. Should I check? Should I push? Today, we're not talking mindset. We're addressing what's underneath your money behavior. Let's name it. When you are exhausted, your judgment changes. Your body doesn't trust the pause. So your nervous system runs the same short loop. Push, achieve, anticipate collapse. Then guilt. Spin up again. That's what's underneath your so-called discipline, not discipline. Conditioning. Half proud, half exhausted. You've convinced yourself that survival-level energy is a sign of ambition. You already know this, but knowing doesn't unhook it. Your calendar never lies. If rest is weak, your body learns to fear it. That's not a mindset block. That's a nervous system running its old software. That's the cost. Sleepless nights not because the money isn't there, but because you can put down the invisible weight. You start to love solving, fixing, doing. So much so that not doing starts to feel like shrinking. That's a pattern. If this shows up in your week, pause there. See how urgency controls where your eyes go first thing in the morning. You wake up and scan for threat, for what's missing, for what might break if you don't intervene. Even on vacation, even at a family gathering, the background hum of not enough, not yet, not done. It feels like reality. It's just a nervous system that only trusts momentum. Let that land. You're not actually choosing between rest and work. You're reacting. The urge to rush doesn't come from your head. It's learned by the body, then rationalized later. That's the discipline, not pushing past your edge, but noticing each day. When your internal alarm goes off for no real emergency, when the room is silent, you still check for movement. When the day is clear, but you schedule chaos to feel in control. Let me ask you, how many times have you set an intention to take a slow morning, only to sabotage it with one little scroll, one problem-solving loop, one more coffee? This isn't laziness. It isn't a lack of ambition. It's biological. The more you perform under tension, the more your system wires itself to expect danger, to scan for urgency, to distrust ease. This is where most people get stuck. It doesn't have to be dramatic to be true. Look at the calendar again. When did you last give yourself permission to actually pause? Not after the work, but instead of the work, you keep trading your best ideas for short-term survival hits. That looks productive. But if you trace the pattern, you'll see you are quieter, clearer, more precise after real rest. Quiet wealth isn't about the volume of your output. It's about the quality of your awareness. But awareness only develops when the noise drops. No hack, no affirmation replaces that. If you still treat rest as failure, you are building from a deficit. That deficit compounds, costs you peace, costs you presence. Eventually, it costs you money. Here's what I want you to try. Start to name the edge. The moment rest becomes threatening, don't soften it. Don't push past it. Notice. Regulate. Find your baseline without the story of failing or falling behind. Let that be your single move today. Quiet clarity. Not the absence of effort, but the ability to choose when to move and when to pause. That's the work. In this room, rest isn't escape. It's intelligence. It's the beginning of all self-trust. Anchor that once. You've learned to call exhaustion ambition, to reward yourself with more tasks, more output, more hours. The problem isn't your drive. It's how quietly you've made burnout look like a badge. There's discipline, and then there's urgency dressed up as discipline. That distinction, most people never see it. You already know this. You wake up with a phone in your hand, not because you want to, but because your body expects headlines, emails, Slack pings, a familiar tension. This is what most call normal. You've made the start of the day about survival, not sovereignty. Stop and notice. Are your mornings dictated by what's urgent or by what's actually yours? Scroll forward on the day. You eat over your keyboard, not as a treat, not as a break, but as a way to not lose momentum. Meal becomes motion. Hunger becomes interruption. You don't remember the taste. You remember the checklist. This isn't about efficiency. It's an avoidance of stillness. The nervous system is adapting around discomfort, not healing through it. Here's the sabotage pattern. You're checking Slack at dinner, scanning for problems to solve. You can't hold eye contact, even with the people you respect most. You stay on, not because the business needs you, but because the body confuses vigilance with value. This is where most people get stuck. Your phone comes with you into the shower. It's not a joke. Messages travel into water and steam. Rest isn't rest. It's postponement. Even alone, you're unable to let the cycle end. This isn't about discipline or resilience. It's about the inability to let the nervous system reset. Days off are handled like secrets, something to apologize for when you should be owning the boundary. You're quiet about your need for space, because somewhere you accepted that rest is only for people who've earned it, as if being unavailable is an act of recklessness, not responsibility. You drop this into your calendar, then carry guilt around like a passcode. Let that land. Money is built on this tension by most. Never clear, never settled, always slightly insecure. Your accomplishments don't silence the pressure. In fact, they amplify it. Now, you have more to uphold. The success narrows the window for rest. You feel subhuman if you spend and are unproductive. Do you see? Look at your language. You say, I just need to push through. You convince yourself you're just in a season. There's always a reason to keep grinding. But the season never ends. You've normalized overextension. You call it sacrifice. But your nervous system calls it depletion. Listen, your evenings aren't downtime. They are a holding pattern. You scroll, but you don't recharge. You plan tomorrow, but you don't recover. The mind pretends to wind down, but the body stays alert. What looks like relaxation is just lower stakes tension. If this shows up in your week, pause there. There's nothing broken. There's nothing to fix. This isn't shame. This isn't personal failure. You've simply responded to pressure like clockwork because it's what you were taught or what worked for a while. You shape your output, and the world applauds the output. You start to believe that action equals safety, movement equals progress, capacity equals value. But that belief keeps you running on a track with no exit, a field with no fence. The nervous system adapts. It starts using urgency as oxygen. Busy becomes your baseline. Not busy feels like free fall. Let that land for a moment. This is where most people get stuck. You feel like any slowdown means stopping, and any stillness means defeat. You don't trust easy mornings. You second-guess relief, even when money is coming in. You run mental rehearsals of what could go wrong. The moment you breathe out, you worry if you're falling behind. That's the discipline, but not the kind that serves you. Now that we see it, let's shift. There's no quick correction. There is only full awareness, followed by small, steady choices. You are learning to respond, not react. Rest isn't retreat. Rest is regulation. This isn't withdrawing from the world. This is returning power to yourself. Most entrepreneurs never get that right. When you grind until collapse, it isn't just your body that pays your clarity does, too. Try this on. When you slow down, you don't lose your edge. You get it back. That's how quiet sovereignty feels. Think about the last time your calendar had a gap. Did you fill it out of habit, or did you anchor back into your own rhythm? Most build a business and never build a nervous system to match. You see it everywhere overbooked. Days, rest packed with guilt, a constant sense that pausing means something's wrong. That's a learned response. Burnout is the body's proof. When your eyes burn at midnight, but you keep going, it's not discipline. It's fear steering the wheel. Rest, here, is something you give yourself only after you've given everything away. That story doesn't create wealth. It creates reactivity. Let that land. Regulation isn't about quitting, hiding out, or indulging. It's about restoring a baseline you can lead from over and over. It's your reset button, not an escape hatch. A regulated mind doesn't fire off a dozen yeses before noon. It picks its battles. A nervous system that feels habitually safe makes cleaner decisions. Investment, delegation, negotiation. That's the real ROI. You already know this. The decisions you regret are usually the ones made from panic or fatigue, not from calm. Regulated rest makes room for a longer game. It steadies the hand holding the pen. Every contract, every tough conversation, every financial move. Here's what I want you to try. Next week, before you take on something new, pause. Ask where the drive is coming from. Urgency, pressure, anxiety, or clarity. If your body is tight, your jaw locked, your breath shallow, step back. Don't interpret the signals as laziness. That's your system saying, we're losing signal. Redirect. Even 10 minutes away from the noise resets your leadership. When you stop framing rest as desertion, you start making decisions from a truer center. That's the discipline. It can sound basic, but most people never anchor it. They think rest is for after the work is done, not for powering the work itself. Look at a high-performing founder who's always on, email pinging during dinner, Slack messages answered before breakfast, gym skipped for back-to-back calls. Their nervous system's in survival mode, rewarded by constant adrenaline. What do they miss? Margin. Margin gives perspective. When you have space, you can see patterns others miss. Risks in a deal, tension in a partnership, the difference between a genuine opportunity and a clever distraction. Without regulation, speed turns to blindness. Rest is what slows the room down and gives you back your vantage point. This is why true leadership doesn't show up in all-nighters. It shows up in the discipline to step away, regroup, and return directed. This isn't a fix, it's a frame. Rest isn't something you earn after the chaos stops. It's what ends the chaos. It's not for the emotionally weak or the unambitious. It's a builder's tool. When you rewire what a pause means, you create new space for self-correction. Your nervous system learns that safety isn't a luxury, it's the baseline. That's where wealth identity heals, because when you feel safe on a physiological level, you stop overcommitting, overreacting, and overspending. You trust yourself to wait. You recognize not every email needs a reply in 15 seconds. Not every opportunity has to be grabbed. When the system is calm, you respond. You don't grasp. The quiet millionaire understands that delay isn't deprivation, it's strategy. And the nervous system is the lockbox that guards it. If this shows up in your weak, pause there. A client once tracked their stress peaks, not big meltdowns, just subtle upticks, snapping at a team member, impulse buying software, micromanaging partners. Every mistake traced back to a simple missed rest, lunch skipped, breathing rushed, even weekend sabotaged by guilt for not hustling. Changing that started by building structured pauses into the calendar, not as a luxury, but as a non-negotiable. The first result wasn't productivity. Let's flip the idea you grew up with. Stillness isn't stalling. Stillness is strategy. You don't need to slow down forever. You just stop long enough for your instincts to catch up with your next move. Half the people you know are running on routines that keep them trapped. Some hustle out of fear. Some grind because they're scared to look up. The rare few, the ones who last, know how to bring all their attention to a single moment. That's where stillness begins. That's leverage most people never see. So let's build around this. Every time you move from one task to the next, you create a ripple, not just in your calendar, but in your body. Chronic reactivity rewires your nervous system for urgency. You start craving momentum for its own sake. It becomes addictive, even if it's not getting you anywhere worthwhile. That's why entrepreneurs spend whole mornings chasing inboxes and end up feeling empty at night. You're rewarding speed, not direction. This isn't a fix. It's a frame. Stillness is how you break that cycle. You pause to allow intelligence to return. Here's what I want you to try. Next time you reach for your phone out of habit, stop. Put it down. Feel how fast your mind wants to claim the next urgent thing. Don't indulge it. Breathe. Just let yourself stand there, in the kitchen, the living room, anywhere you usually fill with noise. Acknowledge the urge to act. Don't follow it. That's the discipline, choosing not to rush. Let that land. Stillness gives your perception a chance to reset. It's how you spot patterns, not just problems. It's how your timing sharpens. Imagine the entrepreneur who waits 3 extra seconds before responding to a volatile client email. Her answer is different. She keeps leverage by choosing not to react. Over weeks, that becomes capacity. That's what wealth feels like, being anchored, not scattered. If this shows up in your week, pause there. Notice the way stillness brings clarity. Maybe you wait half a day before committing to a new project. Maybe you let a tense meeting end without needing to fill the silence. Quiet doesn't mean you're frozen. It means you're building interval strength. Like resting between sets at the gym, you're getting stronger every time you resist the urge to lurch forward. This isn't theory. This is your nervous system adapting. You're teaching it that safety isn't in the next activity. Safety is already underneath you. Slowly, your decisions stretch farther into the future. You stop chasing urgency. You start moving from what actually matters. There's nothing to prove. There's only what works. The ones who build quietly, the ones whose wealth no longer owns them. Practice stillness like a wise chess player. Not passive, just precise. Anchor this once. Repeat when it wobbles. It doesn't have to be dramatic to be true. Stillness is how to keep your dignity in rooms that reward noise. Stillness is what lets you say no, without apology. Over time, this ripples out into how to manage your energy, your relationships, your money. The rewards are slow at first, but they compound. You're not just protecting yourself from burnout. You're buying time. You're building leverage at a depth most people never see. And you already know this. Most of what's taught about wealth is built around output. Build, do, push, solve, outwork the doubt, outthink the next problem, outpace everyone. You already know the internal cost of living. From that script, effort as identity, achievement as safety, burnout labeled as ambition, and yet, stability keeps slipping. Every gain comes with new tension. If it's not anxiety about income, it's fear about holding what you've built, or a nagging guilt when you're not working to justify what's already here. Even moments of rest, you find yourself making excuses for them, convincing yourself and your nervous system that you've earned it, as if receiving has to be traded for suffering. Let that land. You already believe in discipline. That's been proven probably more than needed. What's less developed is the muscle of letting in, not just results, but relief.joy.help. The dividends of mature wealth are ease and time. The hardest thing, once you start building resources, is allowing yourself to receive what you were fighting so hard for. There's nowhere to hide from this work. Trying to bypass it with new hacks, more optimization, all that does is deepen the separation between what you have and what you're willing to actually let in. Most high achievers are haunted by the same dilemma, being at the table, but unable to taste the meal. This isn't a fix, it's a frame. Receiving isn't passive. It's not about pretending you don't care or waiting for life to hand it over. It's an active skill, and it can feel foreign if your nervous system has always been set to earn or repair. The primitive wiring says, unless I'm climbing, I'm losing. So when things stabilize, your subconscious finds ways to sabotage it. Picking fights, seeking chaos, overcommitting, or inventing new projects as a backdoor to feel needed again. What would it mean to be someone who can hold ease, even when you're used to tension? Consider a normal Tuesday morning. No emergencies, bills paid. If your first instinct is to add an extra call, squeeze in one more task, or rationalize skipping rest, this is the nervous system at work, not laziness, not lack of drive. Your body is addicted to the familiar signal. Movement equals safety. Here's what I want you to try. Instead of forcing more action, build a new practice around receiving. That looks like letting your phone ring without picking it up, taking your full lunch without distraction, letting someone else help even if you think you could do it faster alone. These sound like small moves. They are, on the surface. But each is a rep for a new identity. Someone who accepts what's given, not just what's earned. Someone whose nervous system can endure calm. If this shows up in your week, pause there. Notice the discomfort that arises when things go right, when something comes easily, when support is offered. That discomfort isn't proof you should reject it. It's proof the wiring is being challenged. Rest is not punishment. It's not exile from progress. Rest is the training ground for receiving. Its purpose isn't just to recharge so you can do more. It is to test your capacity to hold what is already here, to show yourself that safety isn't only found in movement, but in allowing. You build this through micro decisions, leaving an email unanswered for an hour, saying thank you instead of you didn't have to, walking slowly after a win, instead of raising the bar higher just to feel worthy again. That's the discipline. If you notice a part of you arguing, whispering that rest is idleness or that comfort is a sign you're getting soft, that's the nervous system clinging to effort-based value. It's just a signal, not a summons. You don't have to fight it or prove it wrong. Let it float by like background radio. Anchor this once. Repeat when it wobbles. Capacity isn't about how much you can take. It is about how much reality you can let in. Wealth isn't just about numbers or status. It is about how regulated you are when the world rewards you. If you can't receive, you'll unconsciously sabotage every space, including your own household, just to feel at home in the tension you know. The only way out is to build safety with receiving, to train it like you once trained your ambition, one ordinary moment at a time. Build capacity, not speed. If you want to know what real authority feels like, watch how you hold ease, how you carry and earn opportunity, rest, or support, not with guilt, but with grounded acceptance. That's the signal your nervous system quietly adapts to over time, not by force, not by logic, by showing it, moment by moment. That receiving is survival now. Receiving is safe. There's no drama. No need to explain. Let that land. Let's come back to center. Simple, clear, direct. You've carried enough noise. Let us lay it down and make space for what holds. We've walked through 3 real shifts. Not mind tricks, not hacks, but patterns you can settle into. Building safety where compulsion used to run things. The first shift, recognizing rest as critical infrastructure, not lost time. Most people hear that and try to adopt some idea of rest like it's something to perform. What's true is much less glamorous. It's about letting rest become the ground floor, not an escape hatch. After you're spent, it's border work, calendar work, the simple act of blocking time, and then leaving it empty. No sneaking in the mail, no quick check-ins, just honoring an appointment with stillness. Here's what I want you to try. Think of one boundary you can defend not just once, but again and again. Maybe it's dinner with your phone in the other room. Maybe it's the same 15-minute walk every morning, no headphones. You're not trying to feel better. You're showing your body it can return to neutral on command. The reward isn't comfort, it's command. Your money doesn't multiply out of chaos. It orders itself around your level of nervous system safety. Second shift, refusing urgency as a marker for progress. Most have built a life where the only signal things are moving comes from discomfort. That is a losing game because your mind and body will keep demanding discomfort just to feel worthy of movement. Instead, let's measure by order, simpler weeks, fewer fires to chase, deciding your priorities once, protecting them. This is where most people get stuck. It feels lazy to let things be quiet. It feels flat to do only what you planned. That's discipline. That's the clean edge most builders keep running from. If you crave chaos, you're addicted to the wrong metrics. Instead, anchor to order daily. Don't invent tasks for stimulation. Look at your calendar. Is it a reflection of what matters, or just a graveyard for obligations. You're afraid to lose. Can you erase what doesn't serve? You're not chasing emptiness. You're building a pattern that can hold weight, quietly and cleanly. The third shift, building capacity, not speed. There is nothing noble about burning up all your fuel by 2 p.m. There is no medal for being the last to leave work and the first to crack in silence. Your nervous system isn't impressed by more. It's stabilized by rhythm, pause, repetition. Here, growth is measured in regulation, consistent sleep, meals that happen at the same time, time away from screens. All these things aren't key points on a health chart. They rate the actual gatekeepers of wealth that can last. If this shows up in your week, pause there. Feel that edge where you want to do more. Push past. Notice it. Stop. Name it. I have enough capacity now. I don't need to prove by emptying the tank. That's the practice. That's the work. This isn't theory. This is your nervous system adapting. Set one structure. Keep it. Don't argue with it. Week after week. Let capacity outpace demand, not the other way around. Let that land. This isn't about perfection. It's about predictability. Your nervous system craves it. Your bank account reflects it. Quiet wealth, real wealth, is a pattern that outlasts every storm. Outside, now, you might feel an urge to turn this into a checklist. Resist that. It isn't another system to run. It's a climate you rehearse each day. Let yourself stay here. 6 affirmations to ground what holds. I protect the rhythms that stabilize me. I trust in steady patterns, not forced outcomes. I prioritize clarity over chaos, even when it feels unfamiliar. I choose boundaries before burnout. I measure progress by what I can sustain quietly. I allow rest to build my capacity, not question my worth. Breathe there. Again, this isn't a closing circle. It's a new 4. Stand on it. When things get loud, when you feel the compulsion to sprint, to react, to abandon what works for what distracts, come back to these words. That's the turn. That's how you become the pattern you can trust. Now, 3 times. Quiet wealth is built on capacity. Quiet wealth is built on capacity. Quiet wealth is built on capacity. That's where we leave it. No drama, no rush, just regulated readiness. Stay orderly, stay quiet.